So I wanted to take a moment for us to just run through what we're taking away from that conversation. So let's have a look at what could everyone have done differently to improve this experience. And I think we'll look at it across the Strata manager, Fatima herself, and obviously the car owner. So let's start with the Strata manager. I think the first one has to be pick up the phone. As John explained, if the Strata manager had picked up the phone and called Fatima when they received that first email saying that someone was parked in her car space and had that human conversation, it really would have built that in it together mindset to the experience. And I think that would have changed everything for Fatima. And I think in line with that, if a phone call wasn't available, and it won't always be, I think the next point has to be for the Strata manager to offer help, not just solution. So there was no immediate solution to Fatima's situation. The car was parked there. You couldn't do anything about it right in that moment. But the communication from the Strata manager didn't address how to help her with her experience in that moment. You know, where to park, that they were going to look into it, that they'd come back, what are the options? So if they had actually not just focused on the solution and they actually offered help, not just solutions, again, that entire communication experience would have been really different for Fatima. And I think the third one, you know, and it really ties into both of those, is focus on being in it together. So when an owner feels like they're in it alone, it is a natural breeding ground for you against me mindset. And we all know that that doesn't work when you're trying to navigate a situation in Strata. So then let's look at Fatima herself. So what could Fatima have done differently to improve this experience? And I think the same thing. So the first point has to be pick up the phone. So yes, we've said if the Strata manager had picked up the phone when they received the email from Fatima, totally would have changed the experience. I think the same thing can be said for if Fatima had picked up that phone and called the Strata manager. So when Fatima received that first email back from the Strata manager, if she had instead picked up the phone and again had that human conversation, the opportunity to create that in it together mindset would have changed that entire experience for both the Strata manager and Fatima. I think the second one has to be ask for options. So as an owner, sometimes we have to be accountable for the way we communicate too. And I think some of the frustration that came from Fatima was that the Strata manager was just answering her question. No, we can't do that. No, we can't do that, etc., right? But ask for options. Sometimes we have to guide the Strata manager on what we need from them. And I think the third one has to be language doesn't help. So, we can all be on Team Fatima and feel that she was valid in her email when she unleashed on the Strata manager. However, even though John said if he'd received that email, he would have straight away picked up the phone, I think most people would be similar to myself, that if I received an email where someone was berating me, I probably wouldn't want to deal with that person and I would probably put them to the bottom of the list. So the reality is, as an owner, it might feel really good to unleash in that moment, but you're probably creating a barrier to getting the service that you need. And I think another one for Fatima would be open to limitations. So she got really frustrated when the Strata manager came back and said, well, we don't have that license plate on file. And her response was very much, we'll find out, etc. I think sometimes as owners, we have to be open to the idea that Strata managers may have limits to their reach. And I think by not being open to that, we do cause ourselves frustrations. And that's definitely what happened with Fatima. And I think two action points that really came from this is the vehicle register. So as John said, not every scheme has a vehicle license plate register. I think one of the biggest takeaways that we can take from this as Fatima or as an owner is to go and find out if your building has a vehicle license plate register. And if you don't have one, maybe ask if you can get one in place. And I think the same thing goes for the CCTV bylaws. Again, go and check, do you actually have bylaws for your CCTV on how it can be used? And if you don't, maybe ask for one. And then of course we have the car owner. I mean, the car owner's points are pretty straightforward. I mean, don't park in someone's car spot. Like, it's rude, and it's, you know you're not supposed to do it, so don't do it. And I think the second point has to be responsible for your visitors, because there is a very big chance that the person who was parked in Fatima's car spot, in fact, was not an owner, but in fact a visitor. And a visitor who, let's assume no malice, parked in that car spot without realizing that they were parking in a owner's car spot and not a visitor's car spot. But at the end of the day, that owner is responsible and accountable for what their visitors do whilst on the property. So if you are an owner and you have a visitor come and park in the car park and you let them into that car park, check where they parked. It's pretty straightforward. So this is a reminder that a single change in behaviour, just one of the things on the list, could have completely changed Fatima's experience. So that means that for all the Fatimas out there and all the Strata managers out there, you have the power to change this story. So try it out and jump over to socials and let us know how you go. Because this isn't the end of the conversation. This is actually the beginning. We learn, we try, we continue the conversation. And if the conversation leads to new learnings, we'll drop a link to the update episode below. Now, personally, myself, I'm going to go and have a look into my own building's CCTV bylaws. And I'm going to see if there's any parameters in those bylaws to help us establish how we can use our CCTV to help navigate some of our parking issues. Now, I'll keep you all updated on how we go with that on our socials. Now, as always, don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you know when new episodes are released. And thank you for sharing this journey with me. And I will catch you in the next one. Bye.